views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Higher TV. This is a show geared towards producing educational content for the young creative minds of the future. I'm Flora Lennihan, and today I'd like to hold a conversation about music, specifically jazz, and what it's like being a woman in jazz. Therefore, I'm pleased to welcome my good friend and fellow woman in jazz, Victoria Smith.
Hi, Flora. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited.
Of course, me too. Great. So let's start with hearing a bit about your musical background. How exactly did you get started playing jazz?
Yeah, sure. So I've been a percussionist for about 12 years now, which is really weird to think. I started in middle school, and in the 7th grade, they had 2 classes, a percussion class and then an overall jazz band group. And they needed an extra drummer for the jazz band. And I had been taking lessons with a really fantastic percussionist by the name of Alvester Garnett. I'd been working with him for about a year at that point. So I had some jazz experience, and they were like, hey, let's put you in this class and see how you like it. And the rest is history.
Great. So I'm wondering how you're a drummer, by the way, which is awesome. I'm a saxophonist myself, so I feel like there's some camaraderie between our instruments. So how has it been for you growing up playing the drums, which is often a typically male-dominated instrument?
It's funny. I was aware of the gender dynamic from day one. Literally, I remember when I went home and I told my family that, I'm in percussion and I really like it. I was, talking to my grandparents at the time. My grandpa was really confused. He was like, "Wait, you're playing the drums?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "I didn't know girls played the drums." Like, again, he grew up in the 50s, so he thought that it was a guy-only instrument. And he admits to this day that he was kind of skeptical until he saw me in my first performance, and he was like, "Okay, girls do play the drums." Like, wow. So it's something that I've been aware of, since I started playing. And I've definitely had some experiences where my gender was pointed out very clearly. I've been in plenty of situations where I'm the only woman on the bandstand. I'm the only woman in jazz classes. So I've definitely had some experiences, but I would say overwhelmingly, thankfully, I've had some pretty positive experiences, even though there's a huge gender disparity, not just within jazz, but specifically within the drums.
Mm. So on that note, how would you say that playing jazz has helped you find your voice as a person?
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about jazz in particular is I, along with other folks as well, would consider it African American classical music. And what I mean by that is I feel very connected to my cultural heritage when I'm playing jazz and when I'm learning about jazz and studying it as I'm doing now in school. So I think, especially as a young woman growing up in a predominantly white school, it was really empowering to be in a space where I'm learning about music that so many wonderful Black people have been a part of and have created. And so listening and seeing people who look like me creating music that I enjoy, that's not something that I was used to. So I think realizing that there's this heritage of this music helped me to understand that I do have a space within the music world and within the music community. And I am able to share my ideas and to perform and to play. So I think that's how it helped me find my voice. And then with jazz in particular, the expression associated with improvisation and with soloing. I've never played the same solo twice. And I think a lot of musicians can say that. And that's really awesome to know that I can play a song on Monday and have one solo, and I might be feeling, one type of feeling. And then I play the same song with a different solo on Tuesday, and it's going to have a very different feel. So I feel like it really captures the versatility of the human experience, as kind of cheesy and as that might sound. That's the reality of it. I love it.
No, yeah, that's an incredible point. I think it's great that you're constantly being able to create something new and reinventing yourself through your music. That's wonderful. So would you say that there's like a certain moment you can recall that is representative of your experiences being a woman in jazz?
Oof. I don't know if there's one experience in particular. There's many things that come to mind. There is one story that I can think of in particular. So this was my senior year. Yeah, senior year of high school. So this is 2016. And I was a part of the Berkeley Jazz music competition that I believe it's either been renamed or it's not still happening, but it was one of the last years that they had the program. I was the only woman in my jazz ensemble. I was also the only person of color in my ensemble as well. And I wound up winning the MVP award for a drum solo that I did, inspired by Whiplash. And before we exited the stage, someone from the band whispered to me, like, "Oh, you only won this because you're a girl and you're Black." And then we like got off the stage and I was just like, "Oh, it's the bitterness for me. Okay, no, I got that because I had a great drum solo." So, but I've definitely come across that a few times. People just assuming that I got something because of a diversity reason, or people assuming that I'm not a part of the band, but I'm the girlfriend or I'm a fan, etc. And so I don't want to say that's indicative of my experience, but that's the first thing that came to mind. So I'm going with it.
Right. So I've heard that you're studying ethnomusicology at NYU. Congratulations. So how would you say that these experiences growing up playing music and jazz have influenced your studies of ethnomusicology today?
So I'm currently working on a project now about women in jazz, specifically the underrepresented and unsung, I guess that's the word I can use. Yeah, the unsung women in jazz. So I did my undergraduate thesis on Melba Liston, who was a trombone player, arranger, composer, who worked with so many jazz greats in the 20th century. And I'm also working on Alma Hightower, who was a drummer, composer, teacher, originally from Louisiana, who moved to California. And between the 30s and the 60s, if you were a jazz musician, you worked with her. But unfortunately, so many people don't remember her in history. And that's what I'm focusing on in my studies of ethnomusicology, focusing on the Black women who have created music, who have taught jazz greats, who have literally been foundational in the jazz that we enjoy today, but are unfortunately not remembered. And I think a lot of my experiences as a woman, specifically as a woman of color within this field, I think I really resonate with those stories because I know what it's like to be forgotten in music spaces, or to people make assumptions about me because of the way that I look. So if there's anything that I can do to change that narrative, I'm going to do it.
Wonderful. So on that note, what would you hope the future of being a woman in jazz to look like? And what are some steps that you think can be taken to get there?
I think the future that I envision for women in jazz is to not be a woman in jazz, to just be a person in jazz. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm focusing on gender dynamics in music because it's necessary, and these are still very pertinent issues, but I look forward to a space where these issues don't have to be so pressing. And you can see a woman playing the drums or playing the saxophone or playing trombone, piano, whatever. Like, a woman can just play an instrument and no one's going to make an assumption or be surprised when she's playing that instrument. So that's something that I definitely hope for the future. I also hope for more conversations about gender dynamics and racial dynamics and the inclusion of folks who don't fit into the binaries of man or woman as well, because there are plenty of non-binary folks who also play this music, and they also deserve a space, and they deserve to be remembered within this community as well. So that's what I hope. I just hope for a more overall inclusive space, and it would be wonderful if I don't have to write about this stuff one day.
Right. Very good point. So what does the future for Victoria Smith look like? What do you have planned next? What kind of things are you working on?
I'm actually working on a project right now about another passion of mine, pop punk and emo music. I am focusing on Black girls in emo and pop punk music culture, our representation, and also why we love this music, because there are a lot of us. Contrary to popular belief, there are a lot of kids of color, a lot of women who love Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco and My Chemical Romance and all of this music that's often designated as, suburban white boy music. Very false. And I am also focusing on our representation in that. I have a few interviews down the line. I have a few personal music projects coming up, and I'm also collaborating with some other folks moving forward. So very busy time and very exciting time.
Right. That's so exciting and amazing that you can sort of explore different genres too, that you have a background in jazz, but they're entering this kind of alt punk scene as well. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
Cool. So are there any, would you say, like inspirations for you in this world of being a jazz musician or a woman in jazz, like whether it's scholars or academics, like who really you think is pushing the narrative in this area of study?
Sure. So there's a few people in different fields. From an academic standpoint, Dr. Tammy Kernodle is someone that I very much look up to, and I referenced a lot when I was doing my research. She's written many books about women in jazz, and I've referenced her in some papers before. So she's someone I look up to. I also look up to Dr. Maureen Mann. She is a professor here at NYU, and I look forward to working with her in the future. And her book, Black Diamond Queens, focusing on Black women in rock and roll, just won 2 awards actually in some of the most prestigious musicology and ethnomusicology societies. So those are 2 people I look up to. And then from a performance standpoint, Esperanza Spalding and Terry Lynn Carrington, who I would love to be able to speak with in the future. So if you ever see this, Terry Lynn Carrington, hi.
Right. Great. Well, thank you so much, Victoria. This has been an incredibly insightful conversation. Thank you for joining me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Of course. So thank you all for tuning in to this segment of Higher TV. I hope that this conversation will inspire more in your communities as well. Take care.
Welcome back to Higher TV, a program designed for students to discuss topics that are important to them here in the Bronx. I'm your host, Meghan Kemp. Dancing is often known for having great physical health benefits, but this beautiful art form can contribute to so much more. Today, I'm speaking to dance teacher and school counselor Christine Ferreira about how dance can be used as a form of emotional therapy. Thank you for joining me, Christine.
Hi, thanks for having me, Megan.
Let's get started. You used to work at Greenberg Academy, a special education high school in Yonkers, New York. Can you tell me what services the school offers for students with special needs?
Sure. The school specializes in support for students with special needs, typically emotional disorders, learning disabilities. They have all certified special education teachers and as well as counseling support. So the students have access to group and individual weekly counseling. So the school is definitely a very nurturing environment and supportive.
That's awesome. One of the services you provided was dance as a form of emotional therapy. Can you tell me more about this?
Sure. When I first came to the school, I had my counseling certification. So I was helping with transition for the students for career counseling and jobs for after they leave. And then also because of my dance background, we got me certified to teach dance in the schools. So we started a dance program. And that kind of started to pair with the counseling as well, because we realized how beneficial it was for the emotional support of the students as well.
That's really cool that you were able to do that. So, with that being said, I am aware that you helped build the dance program in 2 schools within the district. How were you able to do this, and what was that experience like for you?
Sure. Well, when I started at Greenberg Academy, they didn't have dance, but they were interested in adding arts to their program. The entire district, which is called Greenberg North Castle, has 4 schools in the district. So I was in Yonkers, and there's a local school in Dobbs Ferry. So they decided they wanted to kind of share me and have the dance be built as well at Clark Academy. So I started doing dance classes primarily, and yeah, it really kind of took off. We were able to create this very nice space in each school for dancing. We had, it's set up exactly like a dance studio would be, so the students really benefited from having that opportunity.
That's great. Can you give us an overview of what occurred during your dance classes with the students?
Sure. So we were, trying to cover all different genres of dance, and since it was new to many of the students, they'd never taken a dance class in their life. They didn't really have the opportunity to do that, so it was just a great experience to be able to teach them, all the different types of dance. And like I said, they created a nice space for me. So we had bars, we had mirrors, we had flooring. So it was really very cool to kind of see them, grow in that atmosphere.
What genres of dance were you teaching to your students, and was there a specific style that they responded to the most?
Sure, we did everything, ballet, jazz, contemporary, hip hop. We were even able to do tap with a great donation of tap shoes, and then as well as ballroom. So they kind of different students, took well the different types of dance. I know hip hop was always the most popular, but then I'd always have a few students here and there that really loved ballet or responded to the tap or ballroom. So it was just fun to kind of work with people individually on what they really enjoy doing.
What are some of the positive outcomes you noticed from the students who are participating in your dance classes? I know you mentioned that you saw some benefits, and I would just love to hear about that.
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest benefit was confidence, increasing their self esteem. Some of them wanted to perform. So we put together a dance. So just that process of working on a dance, again, with students who have never danced before in their lives. And now them going out and dancing in front of the entire staff of the school or other peers, and being nervous about it, getting ready for it, and then the benefit afterwards when they were just saying how great they felt about it and how and just seeing that their confidence was built.
That's so heartwarming. I love hearing that. What brought you on the path of helping special needs students through the art of dance?
I mean, I think dance has just always been a part of me, and I love helping others. I first owned a private dance studio for years, and just enjoyed the portion of it where I was actually helping the students and guiding them in some way. So then I finished my master's for school counseling, and to be able to kind of combine them has been a really cool experience.
What are a few things you learned during your experience of helping these young teens? Is there anything you gained from this experience?
Yeah, I think at Greenberg Academy, especially, we did some professional development where we learned that kids who endured trauma in their lives that trauma could be reversed if they had one adult that was really, a support system for them or somebody that they can connect to. So when I was able to make that connection with a few students working there, it was life changing. It really was, something very special to see that process and see that that could happen.
Do you think dancing can help people who are suffering from mental illness, such as depression and anxiety? And if so, what do you feel are some of those benefits? Because I even know for myself, being a dancer my whole life, it is really an escape. And if I'm having a hard time, it feels like dancing kind of just relieves all that stress in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Both music and movement, increase it releases endorphins, it increases your serotonin. So it really can make you actually feel better. And I did see that, with my students, some days they would come in and they would tell me how they were feeling. We would always do a check in. And if they were feeling a little down, maybe we just want to stretch or do some yoga and meditation that day. Maybe they wanted to get some anger energy out, and we would do some more fast-paced dancing. So I think it really can help with depression, anxiety.
Why is dance important to you?
It's just been my love forever. And yeah, it's just always been a part of me in some way, and I know that it always will be. And I do love that you can kind of incorporate it into your life no matter what.
So I know you're no longer working at Greenberg Academy, but I am aware that you're still teaching dance classes. Can you just briefly tell me about some of the things that you're teaching right now?
Sure. Well, actually, something new and a challenge for myself was to learn ballroom. So, yeah, I'm getting trained to, be certified to teach ballroom. And at that same studio, I'm doing a dance fitness class for adults. And it's kind of the same idea. Like I said, how dance has that benefit for everyone. They all say they look forward to that Wednesday night to just kind of let loose and, get that energy out and have some fun.
Thank you, Christine, for taking the time to speak with me today. For more information, you can go to the Greenberg Academy website listed on the screen below. It was great speaking with you, and I think this is really beneficial for everybody, and how dance is so much more than just like getting your cardio in. It can really impact the lives of so many people with mental health and disabilities. So that was really great for you to speak with me today.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for joining me here at Higher TV. To stay up to date on all things BronxNet, follow us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. Once again, I'm your host, Meghan Kemp, and I'll see you next time.